Hi, I'm Davita. I'm an addict.
Hey, Davita.
Yeah, I was thinking, God tends to work. Because I was talking to somebody earlier today, and she's going through a really rough time. And she goes, well, I don't have a choice but to go through this, or I don't have a choice but to do this. And I'm like, we always have a choice. She didn't, I said, you don't have to get through this clean if you don't want to, that's your choice today. Because for me, if I don't think I have a choice, then I don't want to do it. If I think that, I have to do it, and I have to, and I don't have a choice not to do it, then I get really resentful. And that goes back to my childhood where, I was taking care of my sister and my mom and blah, 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 and I had to do all those things. So to me today, I have to remind myself on a daily basis that I have a choice. When I first came to Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't think I had one. I didn't know any other way to live. I grew up in an alcoholic home. They had alcoholic friends. I thought everybody drank. I thought everybody abused their daughter. And I thought every household was like mine because that's all I knew. Because in abusive households, they don't want you to go anywhere and find out, and tell anybody anything. So when I found out about Narcotics Anonymous and went to my first meeting, and they told me I had a choice, it really didn't sink in at the time. But I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing. I didn't know you could not use, and be happy. See, I thought, okay, I'll stop using and I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. Well, that's a choice too, it's a choice to work the steps. There's some people in the program that don't work them. And they seem to be okay with it, so it's a choice. For me, I choose to work them because I don't like feeling worthless and helpless and hopeless and angry all the time. I don't like feeling like that piece of crap that I was told I was, and that my actions that I did when I was using just helped perpetuate that problem. So, I didn't want to get a sponsor, and they said, well, you don't have to. Okay, well, then I got one, because I had a choice. Not just about drugs, I have a choice whether I want to live or not. And to me, if I use drugs, I'm going to die. So I choose to live and not use. And to me, that means there's certain things I got to do, but it's still a choice. Like working the steps, getting up and going to work, that's a choice for me. I could choose not to. I could choose to live on the street. At work, I have this real strong work ethic, and I'm a perfectionist. And I work with a bunch of guys who feel that it's my responsibility to clean up after them. And I was getting really resentful because I was doing it, and so I thought, why am I doing this? I have a choice. This is a job. I don't have to clean up after them, but because it just took me back to my childhood and where I had to, I fell into that trap. So, I have it on my toolbox. Today I have a choice. Not just about using drugs, about how I choose to act. I have children, that I didn't want to raise them the same way I was raised. And that was a choice. My mom chose to use me as a scapegoat. I chose not to do that. Sometimes I don't know what the choices are, and that's why, there's this program, Narcotics Anonymous, and we have sponsors and friends that we can talk to. Because, I didn't know how to be a mother, but I wanted to be a good mother. So I asked, what are my choices? What can I do? My parents tended to ignore physical problems. And I have scoliosis, and the only reason why anything was done about that was because the school found it and called them up and said they had to take care of it. And I was in a back brace for a couple of years. But there was things that was supposed to be done, exercises and stuff, that they never made me do. My kids hated me at times because I would make them do things. Because I thought that that was what I needed to do and the choice I made to be a good parent. And, a few years ago, my daughter thanked me for that. She goes, I wouldn't be able to do the things with her job if you wouldn't have held me accountable and responsible. I didn't do it for that reason, My daughter got pregnant at 18, and she was hysterical over it. And there again, I had another choice. I got pregnant at 20, and my mom kind of like, oh, well, you don't have to get married, but wasn't really thrilled with it, made it seem like it was like a doomed thing. And I have a really good friend who had a son who got a girl pregnant at 17. They were both 17. And I looked at how she dealt with it and said, that's the way I want to. And decided to use it as that my grandchild was a joy instead of a hardship. And I affected how she felt about being pregnant at 18. Because there's still that stigma in this day and age. I choose to work the steps today. Like I said, I don't have to. I just know my life is better when I choose to work the steps and when I choose to use spiritual principles in my life. There's this piece of literature that I got, and it was basically, for a review thing. It never really made it, but it was called The Spiritual Tenets of Narcotics Anonymous. And I think they're wonderful because it talks about how we choose to live our lives is what we get in return. If I choose to lie, cheat, and steal, well, I'm going to get misery, pain. If I choose to be honest, open-minded, and willing, my life gets better. Because I still have that choice to be honest. I can choose not to. And then I have to live with the emotional consequences of those actions. I can still choose to go to a bar. I don't because there's no reason for me to. But I could choose to go into one. I go to places that have alcohol. But I can still choose not to drink. Every day I have that choice not to use, whether it's drugs or old behaviors. Because if I start using old behaviors and think it's okay, then I stop thinking I have a choice about using because I back myself into a corner. And the only way out, my brain will say, is to use. Luckily, that hasn't had to happen, and I've been backed in that corner and chose to get honest and save, my ass rather than my face. Because I don't know where this desire came from. Well, I do. It came from my higher power. Because I don't have the desire, by myself. I can choose to believe in a higher power today, or I can choose not to. I fought having a higher power. I was like, I'm not going to have one. I'm just not, it's not going to be God. It's not, guess what? I have a higher power, and He's God. Because I chose that. I got into this relationship a couple of years ago, and it was a real bad one. And because of that choice, I lost some things. And I'm grateful I'm alive today. Because when it ended, I was a mess. And there again, I had another choice. What was I going to do? It talks about when at the end of the road, go on to the bitter ends. I can do that. I'm like, jails, institutions, and death. Okay, when I was out there using, I was spiritually dead. When I had 15 years clean, I was in an institution to deal with a mental illness that I have that had been undiagnosed for years. So to me, the only thing, I haven't been to jail yet. That's out there. I know if I use again, I will be, And I don't even have to use drugs. I can just go back to that old behavior that I had. The speaker before this, Jonathan had laid a watch up here, and second speaker, Mitch, was admiring it, and in my mind is, man, you could just in the hustle and bustle, it popped in my head, put it in your pocket. I have that choice today. At, work, I have a choice on how I deal with the fact that, the other people don't do what I expect them to do or want them to do or what's really actually their job. And, I can choose to obsess on it and have a miserable day, or I can choose to say, you know what, I have no control over them, and I'm going to do my job. And anytime I start thinking about, well, those son of a bitches, they're not, I can think about something else. A lot of times I, say the Serenity Prayer, the third step prayer, or just for today. Just enough to get me out of that thinking and into something different. Because, I was told when I got here that I would have to, I would have to make some changes and I would have to change everything. And I have. And they've been, some of the choices I've made easily. Giving up the drugs was not the hardest choice I ever had to make. Because when I originally gave up drugs and chose not to use anymore, it was mainly for my kids, not for me. It then became a choice that I wanted to do this. And I lost my train of thought, so I guess I wasn't supposed to say that. Yeah, that's really important to me, is to know I have a choice. I'm in a relationship today, and, today I know I have choices. And every choice that I make for myself to find out who I am, I take a little more responsibility for myself, and then I get a little more freedom from that active addiction that held me in its grip for so long. I don't want to ever go back to that. And I thought that the only way to go back to that was to actually use, but in recovery I have been to that depth that I was when I was out there using without even picking up a drug. And, today I tell people, because of the choices I've made, my life is still, this work in progress, and it's this puzzle. Today, all the edge pieces are there. Because I continue to choose to find out who I am and what I want to do. And if I don't know, call somebody and say, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want. And, and sometimes it's not so much I don't know what I want, it's I don't want to make that decision. And I need somebody to show me in a different way instead of, because I'll make any decision I make for me a selfish one. I'll say, oh, I can't do that because I'm going to hurt that other person or blah, 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 and they'll tell me, no, you're taking care of yourself. If you don't have you, what do you have? And remind me that, if I don't make my recovery come first, I'm going to lose whatever I'm trying to save anyways. And I've had that happen, so I know it's true. I just need to be reminded that's, why I choose to stay in contact with recovering people. Because me alone is in bad company. And today I choose to get up in the morning, go to work, and I can choose not to. That's a great thing. It's like, yeah, I have a job, and I can choose not to go to work that day. I'm allowed so many days, and I got these vacation days, and I'm trying to be more responsible and take vacation days and just, take a day off whenever I feel like it. Because ultimately right now it's only me who has to suffer the consequences of not having that day's pay. It all goes back to, that I have that choice, and when I have that choice, it's easier for me to make the right choice. Because when I was in the grips of the disease of addiction, I didn't have a choice on how I chose to act. Drugs were the most important thing in my life, and I would do anything to get it, and I would. Even if I said I would never ever do that, I did it. So recovery has to be different. And today I have choices. And they're wonderful choices. Yeah. And I like knowing, that I have that choice to use, because every day that I don't, I can say, you know what, you made that choice. And it's worked for me so far. I wouldn't suggest everybody make all the choices I have, because what works for me might kill you, and since some of it almost killed me, I wouldn't do it either. But I hope you make that choice to choose you and choose to live and choose to find out who you are, because we are really wonderful people. I'm not queen of the world, but I'm not, in a dung heap either. And I don't know, I really don't have much more to say. I can keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I just know that, freedom of choice is one of the greatest freedoms that this program has given me. And when I find myself trying to control something else, I'm robbing myself and another person or persons that right to choose. And I'm trying to be God. So today, and just for today, I plan to allow you guys to make your own choices. Thanks.
I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mark N. from Mishawaka.
I gotta go. See ya.
I gave you plenty of time, Mark, I know. You got a lot to share.
Not to share it about you, but I'll use that if I have to. Yes? That's how it works. I'm Acne Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I forgot my notes. Oh, I didn't have time to write any. That was a choice I made. I took this on with a couple minutes to get here. Because notes don't do anything but tell untruths, I think. If I sit down and plan out what I'm going to say. I guess what I believe in choices is they're all my decision, and my higher power gives me a choice to we always come to forks in the road in our life, and what I've learned from coming here is that I always need to take the right fork, which to me means turn right and stop making bad choices. I made a lot of bad choices when I was out there using, and I made a lot of bad choices when I got here. With about 5 years clean, one morning we were eating breakfast at a convention in Chicago. I won't mention no names or anything, but Kathy Wenger. We were sitting there, and she was being gut level honest, like she always is, and she tells it like it is. And she told me, Mark, I think you hide behind service work and you wear too many hats, and you need to get a sponsor and work the goddamn steps. And the good addict that I was, it really pissed me off, And after I cooled down, and after I heard the main speaker at that meeting, which was up there on stage yelling his story, I had 5 years clean. I didn't have a sponsor. I wasn't working the steps. I was hiding behind service work. After that day, I made a conscious choice to go out and get a sponsor, start working the steps. And I owe that to her. Or I would probably still be wearing too many hats and hiding behind service work and not have a sponsor. For me, I choose to live today. you hear that our higher power will never put anything in front of you that you can't handle. And so far it's been true, but I don't know where that fine line's at, you know what I mean? Because it's getting to the point where I'm teetering on that line. How much more of this can I handle? But I choose to be clean today. I made another bad choice in recovery. I chose to quit going to meetings and quit doing the things that were keeping me clean, and went back out 2 months shy of 14 years clean. And, another bad choice. I was hanging out with me, myself, and my best friends. And, and that was a hard lesson to learn, but, but now I can share that, and you don't have to do it, because I did it, and I can tell you it don't frickin' work. If you stop doing what you need to be doing, then you'll be like me out there looking in, and it's really hard to come back when you got that much time. Lately here in my talk a little about what's going on with me, and the choices that I'm making today. I've been in a mode where I just want to give up. Since last November, I've lost everything. Literally lost everything. And but I choose to keep trudging on. I don't want to give up. I know there's a plan for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know when it's going to happen. But if I give up too soon, I might miss it. The first time I was clean, when I had 8 years, I'd lost everything because of the economy and the kind of job that I had. Well, next week I'll celebrate 8 years again, and again I've lost everything. But I choose to keep coming back, and I choose to choose to try and keep winners in my life. To pick me up. We are who we hang with. If I had a choice recently when I lost my house to go to the homeless center or move in with my daughter. Neither choice not too good. So I chose to move in with my daughter, and it's not so good, but there's good points. I've gotten a lot closer with my grandkids, and maybe she's doing things different in the way she's parenting because I'm there. So some good things have come out of it. To be gut level honest with you, last week I had suicidal thoughts, and was thinking about coming down here and hanging myself from that big tree out there in the woods. And just thoughts, and we all have thoughts, and if anybody wants to tell me that you never had them, I'll just tell you you're a damn liar, because I think we've all had those thoughts at one time or another. But that's not what I choose to do today. They were just insane freaking thoughts. I choose to try and live right today, to try to be a good person, and to treat other people the way that I want to be treated. And when I treat other people the way that I want to be treated, then they treat me that way in return. I'm sure there will be times in my life to come that I'll make bad choices, and good choices too. I don't know what, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going to happen. But I choose. I know what happens if I give up. I go back out. And what I learned the first time was that relapse started a long time before I actually picked up. And I can't afford to let that happen again. I was fortunate enough to be allowed to come back once, I don't think I would be that fortunate a second time. You know, I've made some choices to put some certain people in my life, and they've just God, for once in my life, I made some right choices because these people have just been great to me, you know. When that little cart I've been driving around that I just learned how to drive last night, that's my wind, the wind blowing my hair just like it's a Harley. Let all you Harley guys eat your hearts out. You know, I had no idea that was going to be here. My sponsor got this for me. I think I chose to pick a sponsor that's caring, loving, and caring, and truly cares about me. I had no idea that they were just going to do something like that. I don't know, you know. I really don't know what to share. I just knew that I needed to get up here and share. And right now I choose to ask you for hugs this weekend, as many as you can give me every time you see me. And before I totally lose it, I'll get down and let you guys talk. And I'll go out and lose it on my own. Thanks.
Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know so the tape can be turned off. So who wants to share?
I'm an addict named Tony. Hi, everybody. I know where it says in the basic text, it's always started off with the first step, which I started off on a daily basis, you know, 37 days clean today. And I know that surrender was a choice for me, because if I didn't make that choice, I knew I was going to die this last time. So I remember what it says in the first step. We no longer had a choice, but we do have a choice today when we stop rationalizing and justifying the mess we've made of our lives. So I know for me that the choice was to either surrender or die. So I chose to surrender. And it's great, you know, and I made a choice not only to surrender, but I made a choice to live at a place I live today. Because I know without making that choice, going to meetings and having time in between meetings and going home, how much my mind can run rabbit, you know, and take me places I don't want to be. But, you know, I know it's the disease that talks to me when any time that I have time alone getting from point A to point B. So I stay at a house with other men that I'm here with today, and I have no access to car, and I have no access to money, because they're all triggers for me that can lead me back out to use. Although I have a choice whether to take that route or not. So it's always good to come up here, because I always like coming up here, you know, and kind of uplifting my spirituality, being out in the open, you know, being around a lot of addicts and listen to some good sharing. But the choice is today, you know, that I made to surrender, you know, to win, and my desire to stay clean is stronger today than my desire to use. So I'm just grateful, you know, what the man shared just now, because I've been there, you know, that it's hard, you know, ever having a substantial clean time and then giving it up for one more, where a lick, a shot, a smoke, or whatever, and then trying to figure out how you're gonna, resolve the mess that you're in. And I know the only place I can come to and stay clean. Sometimes it's harder than other days, but it's a program that's, keeps me from that self-made prison. I just thank God, that I have a God today, and the God looks out for me. And that was a choice, like one person shared. I do have a choice where I choose a God of my own understanding, or I choose someone else's God, just to help me along and have an understanding, what a higher power is all about. Because I had that when I first come around to fellowship in 1995. It was hard for me to look at God, because I thought God put me in the mess that I was in, and found out it wasn't God, it was just self wanting to, not caring how I was living, not caring about my family and stuff like that, and didn't care whether I had a job or not, and didn't care where I was living or dying, just as long as I could use. And that was pretty much what it was all about. Always chasing that first one, but never could find that first one. And so I just say, it's great to be here, being able to share a little bit of my experience, strengths, and hopes, and hope that every day is a new journey, knowing that we only have a daily reprieve. But I know the choice I made today has saved my life. So that's all I have. Thanks.
My name is Mike, and I'm an addict. I'm not good around a bunch of people, so I just got a little something to share. Ever since I come into NA, it was brought to my attention by my counselor, and I couldn't have been blessed with the people that have come into my life that have helped me to stay away from drugs and alcohol. And right now I'm going through a separation from my wife for 2 months. I was married for 10 years. We got 4 kids, and battling my addiction on top of that in recovery. And it's been really hard, but NA, I thought it was a bunch of shit. I went through it a long time ago, and I didn't think nothing of it. And this time I've gotten more out of NA. I'm just new at it, and just got a sponsor the other day. This is my first time coming to this outing, but it feels good to be clean. I got 6 more days, get that 60-day chain, and I'm looking forward to that. And I couldn't have been blessed with a family and a job. The job I work at, I went in and admitted I had a problem, because they said when they hired you in, if you got a problem, raise your hand and we'll put you through a program. And I think my God, my understanding, has got me right where I need to be. I had to humble myself. I'm sleeping on my mom and dad's couch. That's rough at 43 years old. But it's just my parents and my counselor and all the people that I've met in NA I couldn't have been blessed more in my life since I've gotten clean, and I feel damn good today. That's all I got to share.
I'm an addict, and my name is Elizabeth. I don't have a whole lot of clean time, but I heard speaker sharing earlier that you don't ever hear anybody sharing about their successes. Well, I decided that I could, with my recovery, what I've done is I work my steps. I try to work 1 or 2 steps a day, or 1 or 2. The questions on the step working guide, and I talk to my sponsor on a daily basis, and I do a lot of service work. I'm on the area I'm at area level. We just are for one meeting. We just started another meeting, so it's our second meeting in our hometown. So the GSRA for that, and I'm on the convention committee, and I'm just doing other things as well. And the things that I've been doing for Narcotics Anonymous have really helped me out in other areas of my life. Like I'm recently, like this past week, in the process of getting my 3-year-old daughter back after 2.5 years. And I got a 4.0 in school last semester. And I have not missed one single day in 2 semesters. And I am so proud of myself. And now I'm at the point, because I've always been afraid of fear. I'm afraid of everything. And during active addiction, I just kept myself so far down so I wouldn't have. So nobody would expect anything out of me, and they wouldn't be disappointed me when I did fall on my face. So I thought that, I was really comfortable in my active addiction for those reasons, because, I just didn't have to do anything. And now that I am doing things, I'm even more scared. But I have a faith that my higher power is going to not let me fall. Like I heard somebody else say, I'm this far and not going to let me fall on my face the next time. So I'm looking to get a 4.0 for the summer semester too. And I know that with this program that I can do that. And, I would have never have thought, a year ago that I would be doing these things or even close to these things, because I always was so down on myself. Well, I'm dumb. I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to get an A. I'm going to be a D student. And you know what? And I don't have to be that way. I don't have to be that person today. All I have to do is apply myself and, make the right choices in my life and stay clean and be a part of this program, because it does work. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
I'm Mandy and I'm an addict. Hey, Mandy. I spoke earlier, and I just wanted to speak a little bit in this meeting. I was really down on myself because failing with the program throughout the 6 years, and now I'm finally feeling good about myself, and because I was thinking, no, I'm not going to find a job. No, my family's not going to accept me, because I hurt my family bad, really bad, to the point to where sometimes nobody would speak to me. And at this point, I feel great. Everything's almost back to normal, whatever normal is. And I found out just a few days ago, a place called me and I started a job Tuesday. So I'm really excited about that, and I just wanted to share that with everybody, and with that I'll pass.
Thanks, Mandy.
I'm Jeff. I'm an addict. I just want to share that I'm grateful today for 5 months and 3 days. And I'm grateful to be here at We Grow It Love at Camp Mac. And I'm grateful where I am. I stay with my sister and my brother-in-law. And even though he uses, I am not using no matter what so far. I watch my niece on a regular basis, and I get paid for that. But I don't get paid a lot of money, and that's okay with me because they're family. And I'm staying in contact with my sponsor mostly on a daily basis. He helps me out a lot. I've talked with him a lot about how I feel. I wanted to see how he feels about how I'm doing on my recovery, and he says I'm doing pretty good, and he says keep going one day at a time, just like most of my friends say to me. And and even my sister's in recovery too, and I'm grateful for that. And I just wanted to. I'm doing it not for my sister or not for my daughter, even though I haven't seen her and been in contact with her. I'm doing it for me, and maybe relationships will be repaired in the future. But I right now I need to stay on the first 3 steps because that's where I'm at. And I think that's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
Hi, family. I'm an addict, and my name is Lanita. And I'm real grateful to be here. I never even knew this existed. I was telling Rick this is NA's best kept secret. And since I've been here, I've heard just about every speaker has said something I needed to hear. The speaker last night talked about his son, his coming to the rooms, and I want my daughter here. She'll be 32 in June. I want her here, and she asked to move in with me last week because she really believes in this program, but she needs to understand that I'm not the program, and she has to work her own, and it hurts to see her go through what she goes through. I work at a treatment center and have been there for 7 years, and I can watch clients go in, go out, and I don't get so attached to emotionally to them like I used to, because if I did, I'd be broke down every day. And every one of them say that what I give them is something that they'll never forget. But I also know that I can't give it to the closest person to me, which is her. And right before I left, I had to go. I've never been on a boat, so I went while you were sharing. But when you said that you couldn't do this if you didn't think you had choices, because what she said to me is, because she has some health things going on with her, and she said she doesn't have a choice. I said, oh, you always have a choice. You can either continue to go to the doctor and get it taken care of it or not. And I've given her the option to move in with me. God has blessed me with a new home, and when my children were coming up, I was in active addiction, but for almost 9.5 years now, they haven't had to deal with that, but they're adults. And I try just to live how y'all show me how to live instead of talking about it so much, because I learned in my first couple of years it didn't matter what I said, they weren't going to believe me anyway because I lied so much. But what I know is if I continue to do what I do the way that I do it, because I love this program and I believe in this program, and I'm really, really digging that y'all are opening up the text and reading it. Some people don't like that, but I do, because I really understand what the guy said. I truly believe this is the word of God, because this is a God-given program, and I chose this program. My father's a minister, and if it had not been for this program, I would be dead, because I couldn't do all that stuff. I just couldn't at that particular time. But the choice is, I have a choice whether I let her live with me and try to be her God. I have a choice to keep on doing what I've been doing. And I knew that I was going to share when I saw Malachi outside. I've been trying to want to all day, because I've learned that, and you guys don't have a marathon meeting. And usually that's what I go do, dump in the marathon meeting, and then I can enjoy everything. But I couldn't really enjoy everything because y'all were touching on my issues. Somebody talked about abuse. Somebody talked about a sponsee who's using. Last night, I got some hope from the guy who shared about his son is in the rooms now. But I knew that in order for me to be able to thoroughly enjoy this, I had to choose to come up here right now and talk about some things that are going on with me. I got some hope when the guy talked about his surgery. I was at the emergency room Wednesday night. I have a choice. Do I stay sick or do I get an MRI and find out what's really going on? Of course, my mind says I'm going to be blind and crippled and everything when they get through. And it seems like the last 4 years of my recovery, I keep saying that something's wrong. Well, hell, I'll be 50 in October. And there's nothing wrong with having aches and pains. That's what happens, you know. And I just thank God there's a lot more things, not a lot more things going on with me, because I abuse my body a lot in active addiction, and arthritis is hereditary. I have that. So I just need to go. And if I have to stand up or sit in a meeting with a brace on my neck or a podium, the guy that spoke last night gave me the courage that if I have to do it, I have to do it. And it's a choice. Either I stay in limbo or stay afraid of what they're going to say, or I go and I do what I do. Because that's what y'all taught me, is responsibility, and part of recovery is being responsible for my health so that I can be here to help the other addict, and because it's about responsibility. I ran away from doctors for years and years and years and years, and I really don't know why. When I was at the hospital, I told my mother, I don't know why I'm afraid of the hospital, but that's a lie. I'm not afraid of the hospital. It makes me anxious because, damn, I didn't want to share this. When I was 3 or 4 years old, I was sexually abused. And that's all I remember is the hospital and the smell. And the speaker last night, it made me cringe when he said he was hypnotized, because I used to want to be hypnotized so that I could know all the details. Well, today, those details don't matter. I know what happened, not the exact details, but I also know that y'all gave me love and empathy and had the courage to share those kinds of things with me, and it's given me the courage to share those kinds of things so that I can get better. So, because I used to want to just go get the person, but it's not about that. And I truly believe that if whatever I've been through, if it can help another person, it's worth it. Because I used to tell my boss at work all this, do I have a sign on my head that says been sexually abused? Because all of the clients, not all of them, but they will not share with their primary counselor. They'll say, there's something about you, and I want to tell you something. And I always get chills, and when they leave, I cry. Because I know that that's a blessing, but sometimes it feels like a curse. And I have a choice of whether to share with them or not. But really, do I really? Because when y'all said that I have to give it away to keep it, it just doesn't mean the 12 steps. It talks about the pain that I've been through and gone through. The young lady talked about her children this morning. And if I can be of any hope, I don't abuse, cuss, nor hit my children anymore. And I thought that was the way to get them to conform. It's not. I have 2 grandchildren. They're at my house every Saturday morning. I babysit them. My children trust me with them. I don't ask for a dime, because what I get paid with is love. When that little grandson grins at me, there's nothing like that in the world. And no one could have ever told me that a dope fiend like me would be a capable grandmother and have their own place where the kids come and are happy. And I just need to go get my health checked out so I can get beyond the fear. And I think it's a lot also the money, the insurance stuff. That shit I hate. You know, money's something about responsibility and money, you know, because it's not that I don't want to pay. I know that if I feel like my back is against the wall, I may write a check cashier's place, and I've got some clean time with that, or I might, you know, try to manipulate somebody's son into doing those things. And I have a lot of clean time from that kind of stuff. And when I get in a pinch or afraid that I'm not going to have enough money, I'm afraid of me. I'm afraid that I'm going to hurt me, or I'll just give up and not pay them and let them garnish me. Had that done before. Don't want to do that again, because I have a choice. I have a choice to call and make arrangements so that I won't be back where I was before I was able to get a home. I heard somebody talking about losing everything. I'm not here to lose, because I truly believe I'm a winner. Thanks for letting me share.
My name's Tim. I'm an addict. And I know that God is good. God, my understanding, look at this beautiful day out here and all the recovery time in these rooms. I know this disease is cunning and baffling, and at times that I struggle with that. But I have this minimum daily requirement I'm trying to work out where most days I read so much, the 24-hour book and daily reflections, and then my big book. And I try to read these things, and if I don't read these things, it seems like my disease, I won't be able to cope with the problems that I'm having during the day. And some days I have to read more. But, I got 6 months in here in a little bit, and, my disease plays tricks on me that, I want things to happen now for me. And when they don't, then the disease, says, well, it ain't going to happen, and I need to, it's no better than it was when I was out there using. But that's just the cunning baffling of this disease and where I'm at with it. But I'm awful nervous. But with my daughter graduating from high school here in a couple weeks, and with my addiction, they didn't want me around. I was hoping that I would get a phone call, because they know where I'm at, and I'd get a phone call saying, about their graduation and all that. But my will wants it to happen, but with God's will, it hasn't happened yet. Sometimes I struggle with that, and stuff gets kind of hard in my life. But I've been praying that God's will let it happen, and life, it is getting a lot better for me. But sometimes just, it's always not the best. It's not my way, and sometimes I struggle with that. And I just wanted to tell you where I was at. That's all I got.
I'd like to end this meeting with a hug, circle, and prayer.